Sometimes, the only thing more confining than prison walls is the silence between two people who feel too much. Officer Clara was known for her discipline, calm, fair, and always professional. She never crossed lines. Until she met Elijah, inmate 547, quiet, reserved, and always reading. He didn't act tough like the others. He painted, wrote poetry, observed the world with a sadness she couldn't name. Their exchanges started small, routine checks, brief greetings. But over time, there was a shift. A longer glance. A conversation about books. An offered sketch of a tree growing inside a cell. "You drew this?" she asked. He nodded. Hope finds cracks even in concrete. Something stirred in her, a feeling she'd locked away long ago. In the safety of the art room where she supervised his sessions, words turned into connection. Silence became comfort. They never touched, but the way he looked at her, not as a guard but a woman, said everything. One evening, she lingered as he cleaned his brushes. "You're not like the rest," he said quietly. "And you don't belong here," she replied. Their eyes met, close but not crossing the line. The tension between them wasn't physical, not yet. It was emotional, magnetic, a slow burn neither expected but couldn't deny. In a place built to keep people apart, they had found something rare. Something real. The art room was steeped in the scent of turpentine and silence. The overhead lights had been dimmed for the night, leaving only the single lamp on the table, casting long, dancing shadows as Elijah meticulously cleaned the last of his brushes. Clara's usual patrol route was complete, yet her feet remained rooted to the spot. "Your shift ended 10 minutes ago," he stated, not looking up, his voice a low hum in the quiet room. "I know," Clara breathed, her own voice sounding foreign to her. This was the precipice. Every rule, every protocol, every ounce of her professional identity screamed at her to turn, to walk out, to lock the door behind her. But the magnetic pull she felt toward him was a stronger, more primal law. Elijah finally set the brush down and turned, his eyes finding hers in the half-light. The air crackled, the unspoken thing between them swelling to fill the entire space. He didn't move, but his gaze was an invitation, a question. "There's a place," he said, so quietly she almost didn't hear it. "A storage closet, end of the west corridor. The camera's been broken for weeks." It was all he needed to say. Clara's heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic bird in a cage of her own making. She gave a single, sharp nod. She left first, her boots echoing with a false, measured calm on the polished concrete. She made a show of checking a few doors, her senses hyper-aware. When she reached the junction of the west corridor, she glanced back. Elijah was a shadow slipping from the art room, moving with a quiet grace she knew was born of a lifetime of avoiding attention. The corridor was deserted, the silence oppressive. The broken camera was a dark, sightless eye. The storage closet door was heavy, its lock simple. Her hands trembled slightly as she used her master key. The click of the lock engaging behind them was the loudest sound in the world. Darkness, not absolute but deep. A sliver of emergency light from under the door cut a pale line across the floor, illuminating dusty mops and shelves stacked with toilet paper and cleaning supplies. The air smelled of bleach and dust. For a moment they just stood, breathing in the dark, the only sound their ragged, shared breaths. The professional barrier was gone, stripped away by the locked door and the consuming dark. Then his hand found hers. It wasn't a guard's grip nor an inmate's plea. It was a man's hand, warm and slightly rough from paint and work, intertwining his fingers with hers. The contact was electric, a jolt that traveled straight up her arm and settled deep in her chest. "Clara," he whispered, and her name had never sounded so sacred. She reached out in the darkness, her hands finding his face, the strong line of his jaw, the softness of his lips. He was real. This was real. He leaned into her touch, a shuddering sigh escaping him. Then the distance closed. The first kiss was not gentle. It was a collision of pent-up longing and desperate, forbidden hunger. It was lips and teeth and shared breath, a frantic, silent conversation. His hands came up to cradle her face, his thumbs stroking her cheeks as his mouth moved over hers with a startling, possessive tenderness that belied their harsh surroundings. Her hand slid from his face into his hair, gripping the short, soft strands. Her utility belt dug into her hip, a cold, hard reminder of the world outside, and she pushed her body closer to his to escape it. He backed her against the door, the impact a soft thud, and the vibration traveled through her. His body was solid and warm, a wall of comfort and desire against her. They broke apart, gasping for air in the stale closet, their foreheads pressed together. "I've wanted to do that," he breathed, his voice ragged, "since the first day you told me you liked my tree." A sob that was half a laugh escaped her. She kissed him again, slower this time, exploring the shape of his mouth, tasting the faint, metallic hint of the prison water and the unique, essential taste of him. His hand slid down, over the stiff fabric of her uniform shirt, fumbling with the buttons. His knuckles brushed the warm skin of her stomach, and she flinched, not from pain, but from the sheer intensity of the sensation. It had been so long since she'd been touched not as an officer, but as a woman. He undid the top buttons of her shirt, just enough to allow his lips to travel from her mouth to the frantic pulse at the base of her throat. She arched into him, a low moan catching in her throat, her head falling back against the door. Her own hands were not idle. She tugged at his standard-issue t-shirt, pulling it from the waistband of his pants. Her palms slid up the warm, smooth skin of his back, feeling the shift of muscle, the ridge of his spine. She was mapping him, committing the feel of him to memory in this lightless place. It was a frantic, clumsy ballet in the dark, all hushed gasps and fumbling hands, the rustle of fabric and the creak of the floor under their weight. It was not about perfection, but about connection. It was about shattering the silence that had confined them more than any wall. In this hidden, forgotten space, surrounded by the smell of bleach and hope, they were not officer and inmate. They were just a man and a woman, stealing a moment of impossible, dangerous beauty from a world designed to give them none.